Have to be responsible for one big laugh a day. Well, I was working with some very funny people. I mean funny, humorous.
Yes.
And so the end result was that we had many, many more than the 5 or 6 or 7 big laughs a day. I, frankly, have never laughed so much in my life as I laughed making that show. And indeed, because the most interesting and exciting job can become at times a little tedious, a little tiresome. You understand? I'm sure you understand too. And so we did invent alternative scenarios.
Scenarium?
Scenarium, isn't that where you grow?
Yes, something like that.
Welcome to my scenarium. I have this fantastic orchid collection. So we did invent alternative scenarios. Well, I'll settle for that one.
Yes.
I mean, such as, for instance, whenever something would come on the screen and the voice would say, Captain, unless you surrender to us immediately, we shall be compelled, whatever.
Yeah.
Well, my reaction to that would be to leap into Jonathan Frakes' arms and scream, we're all going to die, we're all going to die. And, well,
I would love to see that episode. I wish you would make an episode.
We stopped, the gag reel came to an end in our 2nd season because, largely because I made a big fuss about it, because of instead of doing the regular gag reel, which is, you know, the good stuff of people falling over and walking into doors and all that great stuff. Instead, an editor privately, secretly put together a whole lot of collection of cuts and re-edited them so that the scenes meant something else. And it was in really rather bad taste, and he didn't tell anybody. And so after that, Gene Roddenberry insisted there would be no more gag reels. I believe that they exist somewhere in the vaults of Paramount. And indeed, you would see moments such as, we're all going to die, we're all going to die.
We have a quest in life now.
But I should, I'm here, other than to meet you,
Pull yourself together, man.
Mr. Jones got off a plane from Los Angeles this morning.
Yes.
I have a 24-hour start time. Look at me, I can't get my...
Would you like to tell George what it was you were going to say?
Still there?
George is still there, yes.
George, wake up. My God, have you taken out a second mortgage on this phone call? Speak to me, George. Oh, by the way, I have even less experience of what you asked Mr. Jones than he had. I got it, he's mumbling. He sounds like some Klingon or something. I'm really sorry. But you know what? We had, these things really are treacherous. This is outrageous. This should have gone off in your show. And we've been doing a lot of promotional tours in Europe.
Yep.
Everyone has one of these things in Europe. And the most depressing thing is they all take them to restaurants with them. And we found that at times our conversation was drowned out by Italians having lunchtime business conversations. I stayed in a small English hotel while I was on location 2 weeks ago, and outside the dining room there was a little sign which said, no cigars, no pipes, no cellular telephones. And they had to check them at the front desk, like they used to do with guns in the West.
Fabulous.
Isn't that wonderful?
And then they melt them all down and give them back as molten lumps of metal. Well, Patrick, we've hardly mentioned Star Trek Generations.
Well, let's talk about it now.
No,
you have a lot of show left, haven't you?
No. Well, yes, we do, but sadly
You have other guests.
Look, it's terrible.
Your loss.
Damn it, you're right.
They said to me when I came on their show, they said, Andrew is really loose, he's really laid back, you know, he will improvise, he'll be as free with the show as possible. And here you are saying, that's it, good night, goodbye.
Well, I'm sorry, I've been reading Keanu Reeves' auto-cue. I'm really sorry about that. No, look, damn it, you're quite right. We will continue with Patrick Stewart after this break. Star Trek Generations. I'm speaking Klingon now myself. Star Trek Generations. Tell us about it.
It's the first movie of the Next Generation cast, and I'm personally delighted that it includes some elements of the original cast, because from the first moment, that sounds awfully rude to call Bill an element, doesn't it? Really? My hero. But from the first time that a Next Generation film had been rumored around Paramount, I had been a lone voice crying in the wilderness saying that it should include all of the original cast. Right. Because there was something too crude, I thought, about just saying goodnight to all of them and hello to all of these new guys. Apart from that, what a wonderful opportunity to bring both crews together. The first script included everyone, Leonard Nimoy and DeForest Kelley and so forth. But well, things didn't work out, and we finally ended up with only 3 of the original
What
cast.
happened to Leonard?
There were. I understand that one of the things that happened was that Leonard wanted to direct the movie and was asked to direct the movie, but then there were, as they say, creative disagreements.
Oh, I see.
It would have been fun to have had Leonard directing it.
Yeah.
And maybe he will direct one of our future movies. He was wonderful in that role. But the important thing, in fact, was, from my point of view, was to have Bill. And
That's William Shatner for the uninitiated.
I'm really sorry.
Yes.
Lord William Shatner.
Yes, you name dropper, you.
Yes.
Did he give you any hints about how to deal with the Star Trek phenomenon? Because you're right in the middle of it.
No, he was sensible enough not to give any advice. The only piece of advice that Bill gave me, and I'm trusting that this hasn't yet spread south of the equator, because there's the incident of the tights, you know, of the pantyhose, you know? You know about
Sorry?
that? Okay, well, then I'll keep that to myself.
No.
Oh, well, one day, Bill and I had 2 days when we were on horseback. We had a riding sequence to shoot, and Bill came to me and said, by the way, I happen to know that if you spend a lot of time on a horse, you know, hours and hours and hours, you can avoid chafing by wearing pantyhose underneath whatever garment you're wearing. And I said, really? Yeah, he said, that's absolutely true. I can recommend it. And not only that, I have 2 pair in my trailer. Now, I would rather draw a veil over what Bill was doing with pantyhose in his trailer.
I think we all would.
Anyway, I wore them and it worked. The only problem was that Bill, Mr. Shatner, wanted to wear his on the outside of his space.
Well, that's those old captains for you. Patrick, it's been a real pleasure. Star Trek Generations, or as I like to refer to it, has just opened around Australia. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Thank you for giving me the extra time.
We didn't even get to Shakespeare.